There you go.
Okay.
We are on.
September 29th at 7 o'clock, special virtual commission meeting. Village manager selection. Roseanne, please call the roll. Here.
Vice Mayor Cannon,
Here.
Who's got all the background noise?
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Samaria,
Here.
Commissioner Tudor.
Here.
All right.
Okay, we'll skip the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll open it up to public comments related to the agenda items. Good and welfare.
A point of order, Ginny, if you don't mind. Roseanne asked me to add something to the agenda. Would you like me to do that before public comment or after?
Yes, yes,
Before?
yes. Do it before.
Okay. During Roseanne's section at the end, I would like to have a discussion with the commission about adding a presentation to next Tuesday's meeting to recognize some village volunteers that have made some exceptional contributions to the village in the past weeks. So I'd like to have that conversation then. Would you like me to list what those groups are and who those people are, or wait until we have that conversation?
No, you want to list them?
Would you like me to tell you now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to recognize the following groups and volunteers in the village who I think have done some exceptional things for us recently. I think the village needs to do a better job at saying thank you, quite frankly, when people do things for us. Here are the groups I would like to award next week with a presentation. Parks and Parkways Committee for getting the trees in the ground for the fiscal 21 tree grant, and also taking great steps towards the fiscal 21 grant application for trees. The Manager Selection Committee, whose work we'll be considering here tonight. The 2 village residents who were the volunteers who created the plant swap. We have a volunteer at Village Hall who does a lot for this village, and I think she needs to be recognized. And then the Parks and Parkways and Planning and Zoning committees generally as a group for selecting the winners of the Sanctuary and Oasis Awards that we'll be awarding next week.
Okay.
Well, Parks and Parkway.
I'd also like Roseanne, I'm sorry, Roseanne.
Parks and Parkway, you are selected for the 3 grants and also for the
For the
And we can
selection of
also
the
mention the
winners.
fact that the selection of the awards. Roseanne, if you'd like me to email this to you while we're doing the rest of the meeting, I can do that if you'd
Okay.
like me to.
all right, thank
I'll
you.
send it to you right now. I'd also ask Roseanne to give us an update on Zoom for our in-person meetings because they may resume next week. We're waiting for final word from the governor, I guess, and I'm hoping to hear more about that. But assuming we will meet in person next week for the first time, I'd like an update on the
I
Zoom.
think, Commissioner Kennedy, I think we're waiting for Carlos Jimenez. I think that our governor has already
Right.
made his decision. We need Carlos
He has,
Jimenez.
okay.
And as of
Okay,
this
so I'd
afternoon,
like
they
to- I'd
haven't
like to-
changed it.
Okay, I'd like to hear an update on Zoom at the meetings, as we had talked about having Zoom in conjunction with in-person meetings. And then I'm hoping we're going to get an update from either Ginny or the chief tonight about an update on the emergency order that expires at midnight tonight.
It has been extended, Vice Mayor.
Okay, well, I'd like to hear that.
Okay.
Okay. We'll open up public comments
I don't see anybody.
For-
And
agenda items.
I don't see anybody raising hand, Mayor.
Okay, we'll close public comments. Minutes from the Manager's Selection Committee.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the managers.
The Manager's Selection,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
okay. Is there a second to that? I'll
I'll
second it.
second that.
Okay. Let me read the names of the, we combined, wait a second.
Madam Mayor, point of order. I'd like to just say something.
Go ahead.
I would like to congratulate the managers, the village managers association, I think they did a fantastic job. I didn't think they would be able to get through 28 names in one night. The way they did it was done very well. That should make our job much easier to pick it because they did a lot of homework on it. So I want to congratulate all the members that were on it.
Okay, Roseanne, you want to read the names or do you want me to read the names?
For this, for the selection, right? Okay.
Right, from the managers and the residents committee.
To
All
the
are.
resident committee. Okay. Luis Cabrera, Andrew Hyatt, John Barclay, Peggy Castaño, Edwin Booth, Nick Morano, Vince Ackley, Don Rosenthal, William Lawrence, Thomas Heck.
And Mario Diaz.
No. The Mario Diaz is on the managers
I
association.
thought they were all combined now, no? That's,
No, it's not.
he was the only one that was not on.
Can you give the top five, can you give the managers association picks, please?
Yes, the Manager Association, Miami-Dade County Manager Association selected 5 candidates. Vince Ackley, Edwin Booth, Luis Cabrera, Mario Diaz, Nick Morano. According to the Managers Association, there is no ranked order, it's just the names. And for the Residents Committee, they scored points. And I read on the order of the highest point to the lowest.
Right, I added Mario Diaz because this way it's both committees combined.
Yes,
Madam
The two lists combined, that is Mario Diaz, that is not on the both lists.
So that makes it a total of 11, right?
What did you say, Roseanne?
I said that the two lists combined has one name that is not on the first list. Is
Right, that's Mario Diaz.
Yes.
Right. That's why I said I added him. Okay, does any of the commissioners have any other names that they want to add to the list per our agreement of when we did this?
Well, I'd like to hear if anyone else does. There were 2 that I found interesting, but I'll go last. And if no one else has any, then we can just pass that opportunity by.
Okay, Commissioner Ross, do you have anybody you want to add?
I'm satisfied with the list of 11, but I hope that we can reduce that down to 3 or 5 at most to take a deeper look into an interview.
At this point, I think all of them are going to go to the comprehensive background check.
Perhaps we slim that list down a little bit as we hear from the rest of the council commissioners during the meeting.
But do you have anybody you want to add to that list?
I have no one.
Okay, Commissioner Tudor, do you have anybody you want to add to that list?
No names to add.
Okay, Commissioner Samaria?
No, not at this time, no.
Okay, Vice Mayor Kennedy?
I had 2, but if I won't lobby for them. If no one else has any interest, that's fine. We can move on.
Okay, well, Roseanne is going to have to email all our 11 candidates to make sure they're still interested, and also to complete the qualification, the application. Some of them did not complete the application. And I would like to suggest that we have that where when you email them, Roseanne, that they have to, everything has to be back by the 9th. And then we'll send it all to the comprehensive background checks.
October 9, okay.
Can we talk about that? I didn't know that we had agreed to do that, or perhaps you're suggesting that we do it that way. It seems to me, who's conducting the background checks?
Oh, no, it's an agency. I don't know.
Oh, you hired someone to do all of it, Roseanne?
Yes,
Yes.
I got three
Okay.
companies from Nick, the Commander Wolschlager, and I got one that gave the estimate in $100 for a comprehensive background check, and I believe that
Okay.
was reasonable and complete.
Okay. Well, then I might suggest, I didn't know this is how we were going to proceed. I understand that we're going to talk about the process tonight, and I'm fine if that's what we're going to do. But I might suggest that we have a quick conversation about these candidates. We're looking at 11 names, and 10 of them came from the resident panel and 5 came from the county panel. And if there are names on that list that we as a group are not that interested in, maybe we could just naturally get it down, not to some set number, but for example, of the 11, there are only 10 that I'm interested in. So there's one person that I would remove, and I'm just giving that as an example. If we have that kind of a quick conversation first, we might whittle this down from 11 to some smaller number to send through to the next step. We're not required to consider all of these applicants because the panels moved them through to us.
Okay. Does anybody else have an opinion? I
like that
myself am
idea.
in favor of sending them all to background checks unless they say that they're not interested. That's why we need to find out.
Well, there's
I
some
like sending them.
self-selection there too, right? Because
I'm sorry? What'd you say, Vice Mayor Kennedy?
I said, yes, there will be some self-selection there as well. Some of them may have accepted jobs by now or no longer interested. So,
Right.
but I think we still might whittle it down first. Maybe we won't, but I think it's worth having that conversation about.
Okay, who do you want to?
Does anyone agree with me?
No.
Yes,
Madam
I
Mayor?
agree.
No. Madam Mayor, until we hear whether or not the 10 people that are selected, we need to first find out if they're still interested in the job. If we make our list tonight and we find out the people that are not interested in the job, because then we have to come back and do it again. I think we should hear from all 10. I especially want to interview all 10. Since the committee spent the time to go through all of them, I have some questions that I cannot answer from the paperwork, so I need to interview some of them. And Key Biscayne just fired his city manager, so we have to be prepared that some of these applicants, we need to find out for sure if they still want the job, because they might want to go there.
But we can also make that list like Kennedy suggested and just have a second pool ready in case one of them do pull out to move up. As in presentation,
Who
I
is
think
that?
Who is speaking?
Hi,
William,
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's William Abreu.
William.
I'm sorry, William, but this is not a meeting where other people
I
can speak.
apologize.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So I didn't hear
Okay,
that. Well, I thought it was Will talking and I was looking for Will's mouth to move. I was confused.
Okay,
Well, what
so,
I'm saying is, Dan, to respond to Dan, it's 11, not 10, first of all. And what I'm saying is,
well, we don't
we
have to
might
do a
just- it might just
background
happen
check on
naturally.
Louis Cabrera because we have that already. So,
Yeah,
do we?
yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. it has
We
been
do?
done by
Okay.
FDLE, yes.
The same one that the other people will go through? Is it as extensive? And I'm not questioning
more
it. I'm just asking.
It's
Yeah.
It's more extensive. Okay.
Well, does anybody want to bring up a name that they want to eliminate so we can look at it?
Okay. Since I started this conversation, I guess I'll just say it. Of the 11 that are up there, I'm very happy to meet and talk to all of them except for Thomas Heck. He's the only one that I would remove from the list.
Thomas Heck. Do you want to tell us why or?
Well,
Oh.
first of all, in his cover letter, he said, Reno is my home. It doesn't sound like he didn't say Biscayne Park is my dream home. He said, Reno is my home. It sounded like he was writing the letter to someone in Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
And he didn't have any history on his resume for the past 4 years, but it didn't sound, it sort of felt like a form response to, I don't know how many applications he may have sent out, but he very clearly says, Reno is my home. So, at any rate, for that reason, I just got my list down from 11 to 10.
So if we take this as in the form of a motion, I would second removing that name from the list.
So do we need a vote, Mayor?
Just give me a second. I'm sorry.
Do we need a vote to remove the name?
Yeah, but just wait a second, just so that we can
Okay.
double check
Okay,
he's one that didn't fill out the, oh yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah. Ginny, would you like me to make that officially a motion? So you guys can discuss it?
Yes, that would be good.
I'll make a motion to remove Thomas Heck from the list. And I believe Rox already seconded it. There you go.
Certainly moves around a lot, doesn't he? He was in Reno and then Alaska and then Manalapan, Florida and California. Okay, we can take a vote. Is everybody else ready to do a vote on Heck?
okay, the vote, Mayor Hart,
Commissioners? Yeah, I'll agree to
The motion
remove.
is to remove him. Okay.
Vice Mayor Kennedy, of course.
Yes, please.
Commissioner Ross, of course, and Commissioner Samaria,
Yes.
Commissioner Tudor.
Yes.
Okay, 5-0. Removed.
Okay, are there any other people that any of the commissioners want to remove? Okay, hearing nobody, we will then send all the names. Roseanne, you will be in contact with all of them to make sure they're still interested and
Is-
also that they've completed their application.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, a point of order, does that include Mario Diaz since he was recommended?
Yes,
yes, Commissioner.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. He's part of the list, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and can you please tell them that they have to have the response and their applications if we don't have it already by the 9th?
Mhm. Okay. Perfect.
Okay. And at that point, we'll send everything out to,
If I may through the chair, I thought that we were gonna have that information about what company is doing the search, just so we're apprised of how, the caliber and what's going on, how that background search is gonna be done. I know I spoke to the clerk earlier this week. She did explain to me that she had considered a couple and sourced this company, but I have no idea who they are or.
Yeah, I wait for the commission to tonight to give the direction, how to proceed. And I can forward their information. But Attorney Dion, if you let me know, is that correct? If I send the company that's going to do the background check to the commission?
Absolutely.
Sure.
We're paying, that's it. The village is paying for it. It's
Yep.
public record who we're contracting with.
All right. So I'll forward the estimate and all the bio from the company to all the commissioners.
okay.
Thank you.
Roseanne, can you kind of run down and tell us exactly they're going to do? Tell us what kind of background check they're going to do, just sort of speaking generally, so everyone's clear.
They're gonna do the finance background check, credit,
Mm-hmm.
and personal and former employments.
How about
They
criminal?
also do, of course, criminal
Yeah, that goes.
and drug tests if they apply, and also the social media.
Social media also. And it depends on how much time it'll take, depending on how many moves they've made in the past years,
Exactly.
which a lot of them have made a lot of moves. But
Because we have quite a few out of the state, they probably will encounter some, not difficult, but some delays.
Ed, did you have anything to say on this?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay.
I think it's all good.
Okay, good.
If I could suggest next steps in the process and get clarification from the attorney. Now that we have the panels provided a recommendation, my understanding is the cone of silence is lifted. And I'd like to confirm if we are at liberty to reach out and get, call these people that we're interested in and get more information from them. That's the way we've done it in prior manager selection processes, so that we could whittle down to the ones that we really want to have,
Did we do
bring on
that?
the ones that we can bring on for presentation next time we get together to discuss it.
Did we do comprehensive background checks on all the manager candidates before, Commissioner Ross?
We did the comprehensive background checks on the final 3. When we were down to 3 or possibly 4 in one of the searches, then we did the background checks on those.
Yeah, I have no idea about the cone of silence. I kind of think we should wait for the background checks, but Ed, do you have?
Ordinarily, the cone of silence is in effect until you've made a final determination that you've selected your candidate. So,
Madam Mayor, point of order. I thought we allowed to be, don't we have to interview the candidates before we
Of
get?
course, but this is after the comprehensive background check.
Oh,
Dan.
after the background, okay.
Right, okay.
yeah, my understanding is we're going to do a workshop. Once you receive those, in order for the commission to interview those people publicly, and then have a subsequent meeting to determine who your candidate's going to be.
So Madam Mayor, point of order, you're saying that, Mr. Attorney, you're saying that we're going to have a workshop, all 10 individuals are going to be there. We're going to interview them all at the same time. And then, I mean, it doesn't.
The workshop is to go over all the paperwork.
Right, okay, but when do we start?
Okay.
The process?
Well,
After that, we decide who we're going to interview. We're not going to interview somebody who comes in bad from their background check.
Okay, but let's say all 10 comes back clean. We're going to interview all 10, correct?
that's totally up to you folks. You can shortlist
May
it
I-
again if you want to. But if you're going to do interviews, we can do interviews by Zoom because it's a workshop. We don't have to have a physical quorum present. We can handle it that way if that's the way you want to go.
If all 10 people come back clean, then I want to interview all the candidates.
Well, they don't have to be dirty like a criminal record or something. It might be something we don't like on it. So it's,
Right.
to use clean is not.
Okay, sorry, Madam Mayor. If they come back
Acceptable.
they all come back acceptable to the village,
Okay.
allowed to interview all 10 when? At the workshop. I'm trying to get to understand when this interview process is going to start. I'm not going to interview only 4 candidates when I'm interested in the other candidates.
I think I'd like to say something, but I see Rox has her hand up first.
Well, I just wanted to go over the processes that we've had before, and I've been involved with several of them. I'm sure they were not done illegally, but we did have opportunity to make phone calls and interview people. Once we got the list recommended from the residents panel before, we had the opportunity to make phone calls, and I spoke to several candidates, and then that's how I made my selection of the 3 to push forward. Every commissioner came to a meeting with a selection of 3, and then the ones that received the most support were actually brought in for sort of a round robin interview, one-on-one with each commissioner at Village Hall, and a public presentation at a meeting. Doesn't have to be that way. We can arrange it any way we want, but keeping 10 people hostage waiting to hear on a possible position and possible relocating to a different state, that seems to be a little onerous.
So too.
That's what I think.
May I suggest something to sort of tag on to that? Because I know that we don't have to, we're not beholden to any certain system here and we're deciding that, but consider this as an option. First of all, I've been hiring people for a long time in my career, and I know some of you guys have as well. I don't make any hire after one interview. So I usually conduct, I get applications and I review them, and I conduct phone interviews, and then I do first interviews. And depending on what level the position is, I will sometimes meet with the candidate 2-3 times before I make a hire. This is our most important responsibility as a commission, is hiring the quote CEO of this village. And I think it merits a serious consideration. Here's what I would recommend, and ask you guys to have a conversation about this. I would recommend not doing the background checks yet, holding on the background checks. We're now down to 10 candidates. I would like to bring them into Zoom workshops, all 10 of them, next week, if they can be available. Do 3 one night, 3 the next night, 4 the last night, 1 hour interviews, 1 hour on the nose, boom, 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 3 one night. The next night we do it again, and we knock out all 10 of them in public workshops where we're not voting on anything. It really is the least formal of the interviews. There's a reason why each one of these 10 made the cut on 2 different panels, and now through us. So they've made it through 3 groups, a panel, and the commission. I like the idea of having Roseanne schedule them to come in for 1 hour interviews, tell them they have 10 minutes to present themselves. It's a 50-minute thing. Jenny conducts it like she did for the attorneys, and we move on to the next one, and there's no discussion. We just do it and no discussion. And then we set a meeting, which will be in person probably, and it'll be an actual quorum physical meeting, where we then have a conversation and whittle it down to a shorter list. That list, don't decide on a number. We won't say we're going to come out of that meeting with 5. We'll come out with whatever natural smaller number we get 10 down to. It might be 5, it might be 4, it might be 2. Who knows what it will be until we do it. But here's what I can tell you: when you look at people on paper, a very different person arrives in that meeting, whether the meeting is Zoom or in person. And you learn so much. Someone who is a leading candidate on paper, all of a sudden everyone's some people are much less impressed with. Someone comes in and knocks it out of the park, and you think, wow, that could be our winner right there. And she was, 7th on my list. I think that might be a better way to do it. Give them all, they've all made it through 3 rounds of something already. Let them all come in, give them 1 hour, and then we have a meeting, we discuss it, make a smaller group, 5, 4, whatever it is, and then Roseanne does the background checks on them. I dare say that if tomorrow Roseanne called all 10 of these people and said, we're going to do this, I bet we'd only get 7 or 8 confirmed, because I'm going to guess at this point, 1 or 2 have taken another position, another one's not interested any longer, another one decided they really don't want to move to Florida if they got the job. I mean, all kinds of things happen. So if we tell Roseanne to set up 10 1-hour Zoom meet and greets for next week, I don't think we'll have 10 of them. I think we'll have a smaller number of them. And then we whittle it down, we do the background checks, and then we have a serious conversation and make a hire. Okay.
Okay.
That would be my
I don't
suggestion.
agree with that.
I think it's a more methodical, deliberate, considerate way to handle the process.
Okay, I think the best way to handle it is doing the comprehensive background checks first. We have a workshop and we discuss all the paperwork. And after that, we decide who we're bringing in for personal interviews with all of us.
If I may, Chair.
Commissioner Judith, you have an opinion?
Actually, I'll let Commissioner Ross go first.
Okay, Commissioner Ross?
Thank you. So one thing, my first thought is there's a tremendous value of having a one-to-one discussion with someone that is not broadcast over the airwaves. You pick up things, the way people express themselves, more interpersonal relationships, their ability to do that you don't get when they're talking to 20 people. But if the attorney says it's improper, then okay, we won't do that. I kind of like Mac's idea. to do it in a workshop setting, as Ed Dion also suggested, to do it in a workshop setting. I want to suggest that since we know we have a cap on what the salary will be, and that we approved that in a budget today, when we reach out to these people to set up the interview or whatever the next step that we decide is going to be, that we tell them, and if the next step is to do the background check like the mayor wants to do, we should tell them salary is going to be capped at this amount. And that some people may fall off the table from that.
Okay, that would
That's
be
true.
Roseanne when she sends out to all of them to make sure they're interested. Roseanne, you can put down what our cap is for the salary on that questionnaire to each candidate. Okay?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to have
Commissioner
it.
Tudor is next.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Tudor, that's right, yes.
Yeah, just real quick. If it was me, I believe the next step should be for the interim manager to reach out to the 10 candidates, find out who's still interested. As some other commissioners have mentioned, there may be issues regarding some have already found employment elsewhere. Some may have an issue with the cap of the salary that we have. So identify who's still in the running. I would take those applicants, do a background on them, because prior to interviewing anybody, we may have some questions from the background we want to explore a little bit more. So I would do the background on whichever candidates are still in the running. And then the commission can have a discussion at that point about identifying, our top candidates and who we'd like to bring in and do interviews with.
Okay, Commissioner Samaria?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd definitely like to have the information sent out by the clerk to find out who's interested in being, still open for the jobs, and then those will get the background check. The person, I did I did a search on one particular candidate that would have given me, he's not on any of the lists, so I'm not going to mention any name, that gave me a concern. So I definitely want to know who's still interested in the job. If it comes out to that's only 5, then we do a background check on a 5. But once we find out the ones that are interested, I definitely want the background check. Okay. And
Okay, but as Ed Dion said, that we still have the code of silence.
I understand.
Any other comments? Should
One
we
last thing.
Mayor, can I clarify that for Commissioner Ross? Commissioner Ross, as you remember, during the attorney selection process, there was an issue involved with someone who reached out and communicated with all of you. And then Village Attorney, Mr. Herron, reached out to the Miami-Dade Commission on Ethics. And the ultimate determination there was that since you're the last ones who make the decision, there's no recommendation to you that the cone of silence remains in effect until such time as you make your final decision. I don't like it any more than you do, but I think that's the way we have to approach it.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying, but my understanding is, okay, someone has made a recommendation. So it's almost like when staff evaluates an actual RFP that, you're given, these are your 3 choices. Here it's 10, 11 choices, but you're the authority. So we're going to follow what you say.
So
As long as there's still competition among applicants, the cone of silence remains in place.
Okay, so then, Madam Mayor, point of order. So then, to Mr. Attorney, then how, if there's 10 people that we have to interview, how are we going to interview? I thought we should be.
No, Dan, we interview them one at a time. They're not going to be sitting there with us. This is not a group discussion. We will interview each candidate
That means none of the.
together at a regular meeting. It's okay.
All the commissioners are going to be present when you interview.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll even have you there, Dan, okay?
No, I don't agree with that. I think a commissioner should be able to interview the individually privately than to interview to it as a whole. We have never done that in the past.
Well,
Always interview.
Dan, Ed's saying that we can't do that. Our attorney's telling us we can't.
For the last 10 years.
And we're going to do it the right way this time. We're going to get the best. Okay,
If I
anybody
could make
else?
one last suggestion, to adjust the timeline a little bit so that because most of them do have their applications attached. It's only maybe three that don't. Could we ask them to return by October 7, which is Wednesday? Then maybe by the 9th, Roseanne will be able to put them together and ship them off to the agency and shorten
Does
that. time up a
everybody
little
agree
bit.
with that? I think that's enough time.
Well, I'll agree with that, and I'll up the ante a little bit. I mean, my goodness, if they didn't do it when they were supposed to the first time and they really want this job, if you contacted me and said, hey, Mac, you forgot to fill out the application, we need to get this back, I'd have it back to you in 20 minutes if I wanted the job. So I think if you gave them 24 hours and said, you have 24 hours to get this done unless you can give us a good reason, I bet you're going to get them all back if they're serious about the
I
job.
think October 7th is good instead of October 9th.
Well,
I agree
how
with
about the 5th? How can we?
No,
No, we got to
split-
the 7th. I like the 7th. You have to
I
give
agree
them
with the
time.
same.
You have to give them time.
100%.
It's not fair. But do we have to do this by vote, or can we come to a consensus?
So does no one like my idea to hold off
I
on the
guess
background
not.
checks until we have a,
I
well,
guess
I didn't,
not.
Jenny, I didn't hear anyone, I didn't hear a vote on it, or I heard me say it and I heard one other person mention it, but I don't know how you guessed not unless we had a conversation and came to that agreement. So why don't you lead us through that, please?
I think I know my comment was for us to go ahead and do the background on the candidates who are still interested in the position. I think we all spoke on that issue.
Yes, and
So, but then could we go to the next step? Now, I think they settled, we're gonna do the background check on everybody that brings us back the application, and we have full information on them, if they still are interested for the salary cap of 100. I think that's a settled issue. But could we talk,
That's very important.
what's gonna be the next step?
next step,
Back,
that Roseanne will send us all the responses on the background check, and we will then call for a workshop where we'll sit and discuss that, the commissioners.
How long will the background checks take?
Have no idea. It depends on, you know,
Roseanne, do
you
you?
can't give them a date.
Chief, are you, Madam Mayor, is the chief there, please?
Roseanne, you're muted.
Madam Mayor, is the chief there, please? We can ask the chief, he can give us an idea.
The chief
Well, I'm not
is,
sure it's appropriate to
I don't think
Well,
we
I
should
don't-
ask the chief, he's a candidate.
Okay.
right, here's a
Yeah.
He's a
candidate.
candidate. Roseanne,
Okay.
Roseanne's trying to
Nick.
answer me.
Commander
My
Nick,
Dan,
conversation.
Roseanne's trying to answer me.
Yeah. On my verbal conversation with the lady of the company, she calculate more or less between 7 to 10 days.
Okay, so we'll have it back by the week, sometime in the week of the 9th. If you get them all in by the 7th, ship it off to the company by the 9th, a week to 10 days would be sometime in the week of the 19th. So then why don't we go ahead and set up a meeting now, get it on the calendar. We'll have that information back and we'll be ready to go.
I think I would rather not set a date and just wait for them to come, make sure we get them back, because
Or
I've
you
seen
can always
too many-
cancel the meeting.
Well, instead of that, we can always make a meeting, call a meeting.
Well, my calendar gets full.
Well,
now,
only,
so-
yeah, mine does too. Actually, we can't call a meeting, Ginny. Only you can call a meeting, or the other 4 of us, which is almost impossible to try for Roseanne to coordinate. So if we get it on the calendar now, the meeting could be canceled.
I'll call a meeting. We don't need to put a meeting on and
But
cancel
we-
it.
Okay, so if we want people to participate and, you know, be able to play a role in it and be informed, it's better to have that information in their hands earlier rather than later. So
Sure.
propose October 20th or 21st.
I would rather we'll set a date when we get everything back.
Can I say something? I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Roseanne.
We need to hear from the candidates if they will be available on the date that we have in mind.
This is the information,
That's
this
not
is
what
a
we're
meeting
talking
among
about.
us. This is a meeting among the commission.
Okay.
This is
okay.
just the commissioners. Okay, we will
To
set a
consider the
meeting.
candidates with the background checks in our hand. So
Got it. I'm sorry.
why,
I will-
if Rox is suggesting the 21st or the 22nd in there, I'll go with that. Why not get it on the calendar now? Residents have
Because
a
I
right
would
to know in
prefer to
advance what's
do it-
going on.
I will prefer to do it when we get them back.
Can we-
Okay,
but Ginny, you're only
Okay, I
one of
make a
5 of us. You
motion.
don't get to make that
Make a motion and
unilaterally,
take a
Ginny.
vote.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Can I make a comment on that real quick?
Sure.
In my past life, I've done background checks. Yes, they can take 7 to 10 days. However, there is a possibility it could go a little bit beyond the 10 days.
That's
So I would definitely say, I would recommend not setting a date currently, but we can always set a date once we have a better feel for when we're going to have those background checks back in. The firm will notify the village the progress they've made, and they can give us a better timeline after they actually start the background process.
Exactly.
Okay, you want to make a motion, Rose?
Yeah, I'm putting it out 2 weeks in advance, 2 weeks from the day that all the applications have to be back. So if it takes 7 days or if it takes 10 days, that should be sufficient time. So I suggest on October 21st that we agree to get together to do the workshop, provided that we have the information we need to proceed. But I have medical appointments coming up and I have different things happening as everybody else does. So if I'm going to commit to this until term, then I'd like to be able to plan for it.
Is there a second, Commissioner Kennedy?
In the interest of keeping the ball moving forward, I will second that. I also have a work schedule to juggle, and I'll start my work travel again soon.
Roseanne, you want to take a vote on that?
I
Okay.
can't do the 21st or the 22nd
Mayor Halpin?
You cannot do the
Up to-
21st.
or the 22nd. No,
Are you suggesting an amendment?
no. Make it for the
Okay,
23rd.
we're in the middle of a vote, Dan.
Okay, so I'll just-
Roseanne?
Well,
okay, go ahead, take the
You
vote.
can amend her motion.
I'd like to amend my motion before we take a vote. So that actually gives 16 days from when all the applications will be back for the investigation to be completed and returned to us. I suggest October 23rd for the workshop.
I'll second the amended motion.
We take a
Roseanne?
vote? Mayor Halpin?
No.
Vice Mayor Kennedy? Four.
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Commissioner Samari?
Yes, this is based upon that we get the information back in time.
Of course.
Commissioner Tudor?
No.
Motion passed 3-2.
What time will that meeting be, Roseanne, so I can get it on my calendar?
Those, except the regular commission meeting is 7 o'clock. The others can be at 6:30 if everyone agrees.
7 o'clock is good.
7?
Yep.
Everyone?
For 6:30 because it's a Friday and
I think Commissioner Tudor always has a problem early. Is that,
Yeah, 7 o'clock works best for me.
okay.
Okay.
Now,
Make it
Madam Mayor,
work.
Madam Mayor, can you tell us what happens at this workshop? I want to be sure I understand it.
We're going to discuss the candidates.
The results with the background checks.
We'll discuss their resumes and the background checks.
Okay.
will there be a possibility
with
of
the-
narrowing the field at that meeting?
That we can always vote on.
And this will be a meeting, not a workshop, so we can vote on it if we choose to, correct?
It's a workshop. Yeah.
Actually,
Judy?
whatever everybody prefers. I don't really care.
If it's
If
a
it's a
workshop,
Well, I
workshop,
think
we
it
won't
should
be
be a
able to
meeting
vote.
so we can vote.
Yeah.
Right, so I think we better make clear that it's a meeting so we can vote if we choose to.
So it's not a workshop, it's a
special commission meeting?
okay.
The meeting,
Is it a
okay.
workshop or a special commission meeting? I know we spoke about a workshop earlier.
That's why my impression before, yeah.
If I may,
Yeah, the workshop was when we were talking about Zoom interviews.
yeah, the workshop is where we were talking about doing interviews. We're not going to take a vote. We're just going to hear what the candidates have to say.
So
No,
this
then
meeting will be
Madam Mayor,
a
then I still
workshop.
want, Madam Mayor, then I still want it as a workshop, not as a special commission. I want to be able to interview the individuals. So it's still,
Dan,
Okay,
it's
does
the step
everybody
before
want
the
to vote on
interviews.
a workshop or a?
if you have a special commission meeting, you can vote. Workshop, you can't do the special commission meeting and have it as a work.
CDS.
Commissioner Moss?
So if we have it as a workshop, what is the purpose of the meeting for us to discuss all of the investigation? We're going to discuss it and not do anything because we can't vote and then have to have another meeting anyway.
Right.
So Dan, to use your language, if somebody came back not clean, we wouldn't be able to remove them from the list because it's a workshop. The whole point
No.
is we're going to look at the background checks, and then if there's someone we want to remove, we can remove them
Okay,
based
but
on the
then
background check and the resume. Whatever.
okay, Madam
It
Mayor,
has to,
then
if it's
when is the interviews? When is
We'll
the
set
schedule
interviews?
that
them.
date later.
We'll set that date later. This is the next step, Dan, which is to look at the background checks, make sure everyone's clean, and if they're not, we'll remove them that night, and then we'll decide when we're going to do the interviews.
Okay, so it's not going to be make the list shorter. I just want to be sure I understand this. It's not to make the list shorter.
Well, you,
It's not to make the
if
list.
there's
might
someone
make
on there
the
that you
list
don't like the
shorter. It might.
background, Dan, we're going to have background checks in our hand for the first time. You might look at someone's background check and say, I want them off the list. And you'll make a motion to do it and we'll vote and that person gets off the list. That's the whole point. We'll have the background checks in our hands for the first time. You're the one that said you wanted background checks, so we
Yes,
wouldn't.
but I also want to be
Yeah,
able.
that's the whole point.
Madam Mayor, if all the background checks come out good, when are we going to be I don't want to, if the background checks all come out good and all 10 applicants are qualified, if there's 10 applicants, when are we?
You just voted for us to meet on October 23rd. So that's when we're meeting to discuss the resumes and the background checks with each other.
And when is the interviews?
We'll set a date after we discuss it.
But you're talking about
Right.
cutting this down from 10 to let's say 4, then there is no interviews.
No,
We didn't say
not
that.
on October 23rd. We're not interviewing anybody. We're going to discuss it.
Okay, then you're not going to cut anybody down on the 23rd, correct?
We might.
But then, how can you cut stuff down if I haven't interviewed all the candidates? that I want to-
Because Dan, you're going to have a background check in your
Just on
hand.
their background
Background
check. It would take 3 votes to eliminate somebody. So it's not,
Background
Right,
check
right.
doesn't always tell me how the person is going to be as a city manager.
I
That's
know. Well, then we'll
It could-
interview them when we interview
okay.
them.
When are you going to interview them? You
I
said-
don't know. We'll discuss that on October 23rd. After we go through the resumes and we go through the background check, we will then decide when we're going to interview and how
Okay.
we're going to do it.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Attorney,
Exactly.
let's see, Mr. Attorney, if you can see what I'm trying to say. At this 23rd meeting, we're going to get all the information on all the candidates, okay? Then some commissioners are talking about that they want to cut the list down. How can you cut the list down if we haven't interviewed all the candidates?
Majority vote.
3 votes.
Candidates may be removed based on what's found in the background.
Right.
If somebody wants to remove a
Exactly.
candidate and the background is completely clean, everything looks good, and they want to remove the person just because, I don't like the way,
I don't like his
He
name.
signs
It
his
doesn't
name.
matter, right.
well, you're going to have a majority that are going to say, no, we're here basically to go through and make a determination who we're going to eliminate based on the background. Consider this to be the first eliminations based on background.
I hope this commission doesn't mistake and eliminate the wrong person. Okay, the majority rules, as they say. Okay, I just hope this commission doesn't make a mistake and eliminate somebody because they want to do an interview with them.
We won't be the first commission that makes a mistake, okay?
I know.
We've had a few.
I'm trying to avoid those mistakes. And
So are we all.
this commission is in a rush to pick a city manager today. That's what it sounds like to me.
Actually, Dan, if I may say something, we're actually trying to slow it down and make it a more deliberate process in a very good way. We're doing the background checks, which you guys wanted, and then we're going to look at them. At this point, we have 10 candidates that we have all agreed for one reason or another are viable candidates. We are all in complete agreement on these 10 people up to this point. Next time we meet on the 23rd, we will have their background checks in their hand. And Dan, you might say, based on this person's criminal history, this person has no business working in this village. I want them off the list. And if you can get 2 commissioners to agree with you, then they come off the list. That's the whole point. We're going to take the next step in a very deliberate, slow way. We're not rushing it. We're being very deliberate about it. I think this is excellent, actually.
Majority rules?
Okay. Can we proceed or do we have to, there's no more votes to do? That's what we're doing.
That-
Dan,
think
if
we're
it's any
good.
comfort, Dan, we've been without a manager since February. I think it's been a very slow process.
Some might argue it's been longer than that, but that's another conversation.
Vice Mayor Kennedy, let's not, we don't have to have the side comments. Okay. Is there anybody that has anything else to say before our village attorney report? I guess not. Ed, I think it's on you now.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have one thing. Based upon our review of one of the previous commission meetings before we took over here, we have drafted and have provided to the clerk a draft of an ordinance regarding construction sites, which we hope will be on the next agenda for first reading, at which time we can discuss that. And if there are any other additions that you folks may want to include in that, that we did not. But that, other than that, that's all I have.
Okay. We have a report from Roseanne.
Yes, I'd like to bring to the commission the dates with the meetings, the regular commission meeting of November. Due to the certification of election, the set up a schedule for November 13. So we scheduled our meeting of November, initially for November 10th. At this point, we don't have the certification of election. So my recommendation is that the commission suggests to move the meeting from the November 10th to November 17th. Then when we have the certification of the election, the new commissioners can be sworn in and sit down on the.
Roseanne, can you read to them what the Board of Elections has sent and why we're changing it to the 17th?
Yes. I got the document here. Hold on a second. They sent a schedule of the canvassing boards of all the during the election. But the most important for us, I imagine, is the date of the certification date. I was opening the Spanish one. Okay.
I speak English.
On the Friday, November 3rd, everyone knows is the election date. On the November 5th is the canvassing of vote by mail and provisional ballots, as needed. November 6th is the canvassing of vote by mail, provisional ballots, tabulation of results, and certification of unofficial results, including vote by mail and provisional ballots. On Friday, November 13th, is the pre-count logic and accuracy test of the optical scan vote. Is a lot of technical information. The second item will be the canvassing of overseas vote by mail ballots. Number 3 is certification of official results. The deadline is Sunday, November 15, 2020 at noon. So maximum, we're gonna have the official results of the election by this Sunday, November 15th. And so that's the time that we might have the official results of the election. So by November 17, we can have our regular commission meeting with the new commissions, the new elected officials.
Okay, do we need a motion?
Question for Roseanne. Well, I want to discuss it, please. I want to make sure I understand what I just heard. So, Roseanne, are you saying that they're telling us we will not have results until the 15th, or that it's possible it may extend that long?
We have results on the night of the election, but it's not official.
Okay. But it's not certified.
No. We have the
Okay, I
results.
see.
And knowing our village, we don't have that number of, you know, this election is a little different, but we don't have overseas ballots in big number if we have it.
Right.
There is only one thing that is not mentioned on that schedule is the possibility of a runoff election. If we have a tie between the second and third place, then we're going to have a runoff election.
Understood. So, Roseanne, do they wait to certify the results until all the races are done, or do they, if Biscayne Park was done, would they call it and certify it, or does the entire November 3rd general election have to be certified as one?
Yes.
So if the presidential election were holding things up, we would have to, it wouldn't be certified until that got finalized.
Well,
The whole election is one election.
They scheduled the official results already, so I don't know how they're going to proceed, but they have official results by. Ed, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. Regrettably, I have some experience in this, having gone through the 2000 recount. The deadline for getting all the certifications to the Secretary of State in Tallahassee, it would be that November 15th date at noon. So it's possible that they could certify them earlier, but it depends upon how many, if there's a runoff election, if there are recounts involved in any of the elections, they generally do not certify until they certify the entire county. So,
Okay.
you know, it's up to you folks. You know, you leave it on the 10th or whatever. Yeah, leave it on the 10th and then move it if we don't get the certification. You know, or be proactive and move it to the following week.
Do we need a motion to change it to the 17th?
I would recommend that, Mayor.
Yes.
I make a motion.
Well, and
Oh, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move it to the 17th to be on the safe side.
Okay, is there a second for that?
I'll second it for discussion because I have a question for Ed. Ed, in an email that you sent to us, you suggested that we don't move it.
I didn't get an email.
It's really your prerogative to move it or not. What I said was that your charter provides that the clerk can actually schedule a meeting at her whenever we get it in order to do that. But it's totally up to you folks. It wasn't, I apologize, it wasn't a legal conclusion as much as it was
Practical.
just the practical one.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Well, I don't see a reason to move it. We could do it later if we need to.
yeah, my suggestion was to have the new commission be swearing in and present on the first meeting, on the regular meeting.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Roseanne, you want to take a vote?
Okay, Mayor Hopping,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
No.
Commissioner Ross,
I think we can move it later. No.
Commissioner Samaria,
Yes.
Commissioner Tudor,
Yes.
motion passed 3-2.
So it's Tuesday, November 2nd, 7 p.m.
November
17th.
17th.
November 17th.
I'm sorry, 17th.
Second is
Before the
That's
election
right.
now. Okay, so it's the 17th. Okay, got it.
Okay, now you, do you want to speak on your presentations, or is that?
Yeah, I can make it really quick. Here's kind of the background. We have, we're all hired to do a job, but we have some volunteers in this village, residents who volunteer on boards and who volunteer to do things on boards that are beyond the call of duty and things that residents just do of their own goodwill. And I think the village does not do a good enough job saying thank you sometimes. And I think I would personally like to see a presentation as a standing item on every commission meeting, a presentation that exists on every commission agenda to thank people. And it's something that if we don't have something to fill, then it comes off the agenda. But I think it should be a standing item. In October, I think we need to take the opportunity to say thank you to some residents who have done some exceptional things to us. And I listed who those groups are, and I think they should be thanked by name. When I talked to Roseanne about this, she asked me to bring this up tonight and ask you guys if you would agree to it. And I told her that I would be happy to write up the presentations for her, and she said she would appreciate that. If you guys don't want me to, let me know, and she can have someone else do it, but I'm certainly happy to do that for Roseanne. And the groups, again, our Parks and Parkways has done an exceptional job for us recently. They got that tree grant shoved through when it was looking shaky. They got the fiscal 21 grant well underway. They also picked our first winners for the Sanctuary Awards. The manager selection committee, the residents that we put on that panel committee, whatever it's called, to bring us the manager selections this evening, they did a killer job. They did that in one night. They sat there and made sure they got it done. And I sat for most of the meeting, and they did an exceptional job. The two gentlemen who organized and put together the plant swap need to be recognized. We have a resident who volunteers a lot of hours at Village Hall. She's practically a full-time free employee. We should put her on the budget with a $0 sign next to her name to make sure that we recognize the value that she contributes with all the hours she puts in. I think she should be recognized. And the Planning and Zoning Board for selecting the recipients of the Sanctuary Award. So if you guys agree to that, Roseanne can put it on as a presentation. I'll write it up. She has a template I can use. I'll make the presentations that she can have sent to their homes if it's not an in-person meeting.
Madam Mayor?
So I'll just make, if you need a motion for it, I'll make it.
We need
Make
a motion, and then we can discuss it.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we have Roseanne add participation of that, exceptionalism to the October 6th meeting that I'll write up for her to recognize those groups and people.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's seconded. Okay, now discussion. Commissioner Samaria?
Yeah, I think that the best way we can do this is, and the certificates are pretty cheap. We can go buy certificates appreciation. I think that's all we need. We don't have to have any special thing. Have certificates, and then if you want to, I think we can present it to them at the commission meeting. If we have a live, we can do a live. Otherwise, we can do a Zoom.
I would assume we're making a certificate, right?
That's what we said. That's what I said.
Right.
She has a template. It'll be printed on a certificate.
Right.
We'll recognize them at the meeting, and if it's not an in-person meeting, and they can't make it, Roseanne said she'll mail it to their homes for
You
them.
make the certification with the signature of the 5 commissions, so
Yes, the signature.
everybody sign and send to them.
Oh, well, that's
the
nice.
certificate should be very easy to do. I think the clerk
Okay.
will do that. And
Okay.
I mean, I agree with you, Vice Mayor Kennedy. I've been doing it when I was not on a commission. I've been trying to get the commission to recognize the boards for all the good work that they do. So I want to thank you for bringing this up.
You're welcome.
Roseanne?
Yeah, I have one item. I'm sorry that I not forget, but then we went to the volunteers. But I have one item that I want to bring to the commissioner. We have a petition for a variance, and you can please follow this with me. In order to send the notice to the residents, the neighbors around the property, we need 30 days ahead of the time of the meeting. And I want to, I'm asking the commission to recommend in two things, the date of this meeting. And if you want to have a meeting only for the variance, only to hear the variance. Because some variances, they take a long time. It's
They do.
confusing, and all the details that we need to hear. We bring the people from the planning and zoning board, and we have to hear neighbors, we have to hear the owners. So
Roseanne, what date were you recommending?
yeah, we
Roseanne?
want to have a variance, the meeting, a special commission meeting just for that variance, or to add to the regular commission meeting on the agenda, which is sometimes already big, so extensive. So we need to decide what the date. If it goes to the commission meeting on November, it's fine. We have plenty of time. But if you're going to schedule a special meeting just for the variance, we need to do now so I can have time to send
the date.
notices.
You said this is going to be a
Can I-
long variance meeting, so what was the date you were suggesting?
My suggestion, it was for the last week of November. Ed, help me here with that, because it's gonna be a little short of 30 days.
But Madam Mayor, does that mean that the attorney has to be present for
That's
the?
more than 30 days.
You mean October,
Yeah,
Roseanne?
it has to be present.
You mean October,
You mean
Rosa?
October.
Okay, I'm
Sorry.
gonna interrupt here for a second. I'm gonna interrupt for 1 second. I'm sorry. We were in the middle of a motion that was never finished, and then you had Roseanne move on to this item. So I think we need to go back and clear that up and have a vote and close that up. We didn't do that.
thought
I
that
made a
we had-
motion, Rock seconded it. We never voted on it.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I thought,
Do a roll call on the presentations,
okay,
Roseanne, please.
Mayor Hopping,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria, Commissioner Tudor.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I
Okay.
interrupted. the-
Thank you. That's okay. I just didn't want to get everyone muffled there.
Thank you.
I think you mean the end of October, Roseanne, not the end of November.
Yes, I meant end of October,
Okay.
22nd on the Tuesday, or 29.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
29, we are fine. We have, I'll send the notice tomorrow.
Is the 29th good? That's enough time with the notice that we have to do?
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Does that mean the attorney has to be there? Because even though we have a flat rate, it's still will still be costing us money.
We love to see Ed sitting there, yes. Yes, I like
It-
looking at him.
Commissioner Samaria, it doesn't cost you anymore. We're
Doesn't cost.
at a flat rate.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this meeting, yes, we need the attorney.
Yeah,
Of course.
I certainly recommend that I be there for quasi judicial proceedings.
Yes,
I would
yes.
hope.
Is the 29th good with everybody? Can you kind of check the dates, everybody?
The only problem with that is making sure that everybody has 30 days notice.
Is there 30 days notice if you get that out right away, Roseanne?
It's 1 day short because I'm going.
Then we can't do that.
I don't recommend it.
No. And if I understand correctly, people have to, if you mail something to the houses around it, they have to have 30 days notice too, don't they, Ed?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, but it's from the date of receipt. So, I mean, it's not the day you drop it in the
No, it's the
mail.
day
It's the day
that-
that they receive.
Yeah, that's right. It's not return receipt requested, but you gotta give a couple of days for.
You've got to give them
Post office
time.
to
That's
do
right.
it.
Can we
Okay.
do it on the
This needs to
2nd?
happen in November.
November 2nd on a Monday? Can we do that variance? Is that good with everybody?
Is this a time sensitive thing?
Well, it's a variance, and if we,
It's a variance that they are waiting for.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're asking for a special meeting. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
a special meeting. Yeah.
okay, is November 2nd the date of my oldest child's birthday? Is that a good?
Right.
Well, no, we can't do that.
Well, it is the day before the election, so just everyone keep that in mind,
Yeah, I don't think
if
any
that
of
matters
us.
to anybody.
Well, I think it'll matter to Roseanne, who has to be here at 6 in the morning to open up the ballot,
Yeah.
the election
That's
place.
a good point.
Roseanne, that's, you
You
know.
have to be here early. Just don't make the
Election.
meeting go too late.
Why don't we do it the following week and give Roseanne a break because she's going to be up to her eyeballs that week in election stuff. Make it maybe the 9th or the 10th of November. We just pushed the 10th back to the 17th, so we cleared up that week. Why don't we do the 10th, Tuesday the 10th?
To me, it's fine.
Is that okay? Is it, everybody check their calendars. Is the 10th good?
Yeah, 10's
I'm
okay.
good.
Okay,
6:30 or 7?
7, because that's better for Commissioner
Okay.
Tudor.
Yeah.
So that would be a special meeting, special commission meeting.
Okay. And Roseanne, will we get the information the Friday before like we normally do? Because for variance, I would like to have more time to go
Study.
through it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot.
Sure.
Okay. Ed, can I ask you a question about a variance since we're discussing that? As a commissioner, I've only served for
Voted on
one
one.
variance request. Yeah, and it was, I will tell you, it was like Ginny and I had just gotten elected, and it was not the smoothest process we went through that night because I don't think anyone was informed about what the rules were. So I was getting afraid you were going to do it with a new commission and advise you to consult with them on how this works exactly. But Ed, my request to you would be a request and a question regarding that variance hearing. At the beginning of that hearing, would you please explain very clearly these 4 points, exactly what we're doing? It didn't happen last time. And when we got done, in my opinion, the commission did not handle it properly. It's a legal matter that was not done properly. I think that needs to be explained very clearly so the commission fully understands exactly what their responsibility is.
I'll be happy
So if you
to.
would do that, I'd appreciate that. And then the other thing is, it was a question I asked last time, and I don't think I ever got an answer. Are we allowed to, once we get this packet of information, I have no idea what address Roseanne's talking about, no clue. Are we allowed to go there and look at it ourselves, talk to these people, stand in the yard and look at whatever it is they want a variance for?
I'm going to have.
Because we were discussing a variance. It was so abstract on drawings on a piece of paper, and it was really not clear at all. And I would have benefited from looking at it in person.
Yeah. Well,
And Ed,
ordinarily, you know, if this were a regular judicial proceeding, you could not ex parte the judge. You, in fact, are sitting as judges in this case.
That's the judge.
And you're making determinations based upon competent, substantial evidence that's provided to you during that meeting. If you have any conversations with anybody, you have to disclose those before at the time we start the quasi judicial proceeding.
Understood.
I'm not familiar, since we haven't done one yet. I need to go and check what your rules are because it's different in different jurisdictions. Some say no ex parte communications whatsoever. You wait until the date of the hearing and you make your determination solely based upon that. Other ones, other jurisdictions allow it, but it requires a specific disclosure. I will get that to you well in advance of November the 10th.
I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I'd also, you know, sometimes it might possibly work the other way where a resident would approach one of us and say, I want to tell you about this. And if we're not allowed to have that ex parte communication, we need to know it to stop them dead in their tracks.
Yeah, most of the time,
I appreciate that.
Most of the time it is permitted as long as it's disclosed prior to the vote being taken.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Samaria?
In case people don't know, today is the 29th, so if you want anything on the agenda, it has to be given to the clerk by tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Everybody knows, everybody knows.
For what?
For the agenda for the next commission meeting, so you can tell you stuff.
The deadline was yesterday. The
Okay,
deadline was yesterday for the next commission meeting.
Right, okay, so that means there'll be nothing added onto the agenda, correct?
And then regarding the variance, I promise, since you were so generous with the time, I appreciate that. I will send the package first and foremost to the attorneys. They need you need to go over. I didn't send before because we need to set up the date of the meetings, and then I'll set up the notice and you go over the whole package. And of course, I'll send to the commission way ahead of time, right after. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
I asked about a Zoom update for the.
Okay, I was at a meeting today. I was at a meeting today, and let me assure you that everybody around Miami-Dade, all the mayors are very upset. The way they seem to think that it should be is that we have to have a quorum, which means the 5 of us have to be alive, and the rest can be Zoom. And we know already that if all of us have our laptops in the log cabin open and we're working on it, nobody's going to be able to hear anything because the interference with each other. They're going to be discussing it again next week, but that's what they're talking about so far.
That's what your mayor's group is talking about.
Right. DeSantis says we're going to
Understood.
have, DeSantis said that in his thing that we're going to have, what is that, herd immunity or whatever. So I that's true. That's what was told me today. And that DeSantis's doctors think that this is going to go away, that he does not believe there's going to be a second surge. Quote, the head of Miami-Dade repeating what DeSantis had said. So we will be meeting very quickly, very soon with Carlos Jimenez, and they're setting it up. I have no idea when, but I think it's going to be sooner than later. Just to let you know also that there is a meeting tomorrow night for the candidates for Miami-Dade mayor. And you can, I believe, Roseanne, you sent that out on one of the things where it shows that you could.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I think I forwarded the message for the mayor.
Right, that,
Yeah,
so
she did.
tomorrow night. And our own Willis Shepherd will be chairing that meeting. So if anybody has nothing to do tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, there is the meeting and you can listen, watch it.
Okay, Jenny, back to my Zoom question because maybe I didn't ask it correctly. Caesar is meeting with our outside audio-visual people about a solution for the log cabin. So if we do have to meet next Tuesday in person there, the idea was that we would have Zoom, the log cabin would be Zoom enabled with professional audio, so it would all work properly. I'm asking Roseanne for an update on that. Last time I asked, he said, yes, it can happen. They made it sound like it would be kind of easy and they were working on it. And now all of a sudden, boom, we're going to meet in person. So where do we stand on that, Roseanne?
Yes. And I believe because of that, he's not ready. He's running like crazy, trying to, and the Caesar just.
Because it came up quickly.
Yeah, he's trying to set a test run this week, but he's behind with all his work.
Understood. Okay.
He has the pieces, but we are waiting on him now.
Okay.
Commissioner Tudor?
Very good.
Yeah,
Thank
real
you.
quick.
Commissioner Tudor?
The upcoming in-person meetings, if we have to have those in October, one issue or one portion of that is the Zoom, because I know there's residents who won't want it to attend. But we also, at some point in time, we got to figure out how we're going to ensure the safety of those who are participating in meetings in the log cabin. I don't know if that's been addressed yet, but that's one of the things that the village is going to have to look at, because I don't think any of the commissioners necessarily want to be forced to attend an in-person meeting and run the risk of catching this thing.
So on a related
Dan,
note to that,
did you hear anything on what's going on with Miami-Dade? Ed?
It's not up to Miami-Dade. There several jurisdictions are doing it different ways. Coral Gables is having their people there, but staff and the public have to be outside until they're called in. And you got to wear a mask. So they're not allowing people to actually be in the chambers. So they've got a whole protocol. Others are trying to do a majority of the members present, and then everybody else and the public Zoom. So there are all different kinds of scenarios. Frankly, I don't think the Mayor Jimenez has any authority to do anything about that. I think it's only the governor who has the authority to suspend that.
You mean the Mayor Jimenez can't?
Madam
Can I
Mayor,
add a
Minor
comment to
Gate
that?
doesn't have any authority to do anything.
you can separate,
Yeah.
you can separate the commissions 6 feet apart. I think we have enough
Yeah.
in the cabin to do that.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have
the
space.
question is, what do you do? What do you do with everybody else?
Everybody else
Right.
doesn't, I don't think you're gonna get most residents coming anyway. I think having the commission is inside is, you know, is, you could have them 6 feet apart. And that would take,
Well, they were talking about having the residents on Zoom.
it can be on Zoom.
Right.
You don't have to be in the log
But the
cabin.
problem is having the hybrid way in person and via Zoom. The residents that are on Zoom cannot interact because of the sound. The sound is going to be very bad.
Yeah.
Can we just make next week's meeting a Zoom meeting, Ed?
No, ma'am. Not unless the governor extends his emergency order by tomorrow.
Ed, so Ed, we could, if I'm understanding this correctly, two things. One, let me address something Will said because I want to make sure I'm clear on this. If we conduct these Zoom, we would be allowed to conduct these candidate interviews by workshop via Zoom, just like we are now. Because it's not a meeting where we would vote, no physical quorum is required. So 5 years from now, we could still do that because for a workshop, you don't have to have a physical quorum. Is that correct?
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so
Unless-
the interviews
if you're
are a
gonna,
whole separate issue.
if you're gonna take a vote, then my recommendation is a
Then we
majority
can. Right,
of you have to
exactly.
physically be present at the meeting.
Understood. Which brings me to my next question, which is if there were a commissioner or two that were not comfortable being in the log cabin, as long as 3 are there for a quorum, the other 2 could participate via Zoom and have full participation in the meeting, correct?
Absolutely correct, in my
Yeah,
it's gotta
opinion.
be a
that's
Okay,
right.
okay. So that's worth
Yeah.
keeping in mind. So as long as there's a physical quorum,
Yeah.
the meeting can take place and, okay, good.
Yeah, some of us elderly people might prefer not to attend.
I just want to be sure.
You
in
talking to
person.
me, Ed?
And I think that's an extraordinary circumstance that even under all of the attorney general opinions would allow that to occur, the way you just described it.
Madam Mayor, there has to be 3 people present, but the other 2 people can't vote.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what,
they can.
yes, they can.
Yes, they can.
In general, they can't. Has to
Yes,
be,
they can.
Yes, they can. We've talked about
I
this
was-
before, Dan. They can.
Just to share that I was listening to the Miami-Dade County School Board meeting today, and they met for the first time in the chamber. They had the board members and staff present, and then as they would only allow the public in with mask 10 at a time to address their public comment, and then they'd have to rotate out. Of course,
Hey, open the door.
facilities, and they had sort of a broadcast system set up outside so that people who are not in the chamber could still hear what's going on. I think that may be beyond our reach to do that outside of the log cabin, but something to consider.
okay, so, Mr. Attorney, so this would be considered extreme circumstances so to allow the other 2 people to vote, right? Because according to the Attorney General's thing, it says it has to be extreme reasons for.
Yeah, and my opinion is because this virus attacks people over 65 with greater frequency and intensity, that anyone in that category can declare that to be an extreme circumstance and participate via Zoom, as long as you've got a physical quorum present at the meeting place.
Okay, that's what I was asking, because I know what the order is. You can say it's extreme. Okay, no problem.
Any other discussion?
Just want to clarify the thing about voting, because we keep coming back to this question, and we keep getting the same answer, but apparently doesn't like that answer. As long as
I didn't hear what you said. You broke up, Rox.
So the question about voting, my understanding, and we've talked about it before. We had at least one attorney give an opinion on it, and I hope Mr. Dion can give us another similar opinion, is the requirement by statute is that you meet a quorum physically in the chamber or in the room or wherever you're meeting. So that means 3 commissioners have to be present in order for all 5 to participate in a meeting, and the other 2 can do it remotely. Being remote does not minimize your ability to vote. Even though you're not physically in the room, you can still vote on an issue, on a motion, on an ordinance even, as long as the quorum is present in person.
That's right. You fully participate, even if you're not in the room. I've done it for 21 years.
Okay, so that means
I know that's the case.
So we have had 2 attorneys in 2 different administrations that's given us wrong information. Because we have had.
I'm not surprised.
Well, I agree. We had Commissioner, Commissioner Harvey and Commissioner Jenny Johnson Sadella that were out of town, and they were allowed to participate, but they were not allowed to vote. So
they did absolutely vote. They did absolutely vote. I was there.
Commissioner Samaria, let me clarify this. If you're participating in the meeting, whether it's in person or directly, you have to vote unless you have a conflict of interest. You declare that conflict and you file the appropriate paperwork. So if you're participating in a Zoom meeting, you're deemed to be present for all purposes, and you must vote on an issue unless that conflict exists.
That's true. Is there any other problem, Commissioner Samaria?
no, nothing. No, it's okay.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to say? Or
No.
can we go watch the debate?
I make a motion.
Mayor, I got something.
Go ahead.
All right. I want to clarify something so that later on there's no confusion. I had a discussion with Roseanne today regarding the reopening of meetings. Without a doubt, to answer one of the commissioner's question, I don't see us even being close to doing a full Zoom meeting with audio and the whole participation issue via Zoom like we're doing now. Realistically, one of the things that we discuss is we do a live Zoom of the meeting so people can view the meeting, and the residents can submit questions to the clerk like they do in many other cities, and those questions will be read out loud and discussed at the commission meeting. That's one of the options, including that you want to limit a certain amount of residents, let's say, and then the others do it via Zoom. So we've discussed several options, but I don't want there be, I want it to be transparent and there's not a misconception that the administration is misleading anyone. I don't see it happening where we're going to have a full Zoom meeting, full participations, and the systems that we're going to have in place and the resources are going to be adequate for that. That's not going to happen.
My suggestion, Mayor and Commissioners, is that once village management decides what process they want to use, that they consult with us so that we can help implement it. All right, because I'm hearing all kinds of different variations, and I want to make sure that we're responding to the one that we're actually going to be using. So once someone makes a determination of how we're going to proceed live starting next week, if you just include us in the conversation, we'll be happy to make sure that we're complying with the requirements.
But at this point, Ed, the way it stands next week, we have to have a quorum present, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's unless something hopefully happens, and we certainly will let you know if that happens.
And we will also let y'all know if we get word that something good has happened.
Yeah. Okay, but is there a motion for an adjournment?
Yes, and make it.
I'd like to say one thing before we go, Ginny. So this is for my benefit and maybe for some other people's as well. We had a very long conversation about next steps for the manager selection process. And I made notes as we went here that I'm confident I got correct, but I would like to read them back to make sure it's correct, because I don't want us to trip over something and show up to a meeting and we have 3 different opinions on what we agreed on.
Okay,
So
go
this
ahead.
is what I wrote down. This is what I wrote down. First, that Ed advised us that we may not call any of these applicants to conduct interviews with them personally prior to the final selection. So we may not ever have a private conversation with any of these candidates outside of a meeting. Roseanne, immediately tomorrow, hopefully, will call the 10 finalists that we determined tonight. She will tell them that the salary cap is based on our fiscal 21 budget and make sure they're fully aware of that. She will get missing applications and background check approval back from all of them no later than October 7th. As soon as she has that together, she will send them all to the company conducting the background checks. She will then send an email to us advising us of who she forwarded to the company performing the background checks, because that could possibly be a shorter list than the 10 we have tonight. People may drop out or have already taken a job or something may have come up. So we'll
Okay,
have a
can I
list
just
of who
correct one
she
thing?
forwarded.
Let
Yes.
me correct one thing, Mac. She's going to email these people. She's not calling them unless you can.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, she'll contact. Okay, I have contact here. She anticipates the background checks will be back to her and forwarded to the commission October 20-ish, somewhere around there. And we have a meeting confirmed for Friday, October 23rd to discuss the applicants, and we'll have the background checks in hand, and that will be our first substantive conversation about the 10 finalists.
I have a question.
Did I get that right, Roseanne? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's assuming. That's what she said.
That will have to.
I mean, there's people who have
Yeah.
backgrounds that take 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right,
I know, that's what I
if
said.
they're back, Louis.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
And then if I don't, of course, everybody will be notified.
You'll let us know. Okay.
That meeting that is for now is scheduled for October 23rd. It's going to be a workshop or a special commission meeting?
Special
It's a
meeting.
special meeting.
Okay.
Special meeting for the 23rd
Correct.
of October at 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have anything to say? Is there a motion for an adjournment?
I'll make a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
Well, we're all making a motion to adjourn, and we'll second it. All in favor?
Everybody
say
will
aye.
second it.
Everybody
Aye.
seconded, everybody's in favor, aye. Okay, let's go watch the debate. Have a very good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.